السلام عليكم ورحمة الله أعزائي طلاب المرحلة الرابعة قسم اللغة الإنجليزية. Today we are going to complete with Concord. So we are going to start with the Concord of the coordinated subject. When a subject consists of two or more noun phrases coordinated by and, a distinction has to be made between oppositional and non-oppositional coordination. So when the subject is composed of two noun phrases and coordinated by and, in this case we have two types of coordinated subject. One is called as non-oppositional coordination, and the other is oppositional coordination. So under the non-oppositional coordination, we include cases that can be treated as an implied reduction of two clauses. The non-oppositional coordination means that as if we reduced two clauses into one. Let's take the example here. Tom and Mary are now ready. So this sentence originally is Tom is now ready and Mary is now ready. So since here the subject is a reduction of two clauses, so here we use a plural verb. A singular verb is used with conjunctions that represent a single entity. So when this coordinated subject referring to one entity, one unit, when we have a title, when we have a name for a program, for example, a novel, a story, etc., or a quotation, and we want to talk about this title, this name, this quotation, so we are going to use the singular verb. For example, Sons and Lovers is a great novel. Look here. Although we have in the two parts of this coordinated subject, we have sons, plural, and we have lovers, also plural, and they are together, also plural. However, we used a singular verb because this is a title of a novel and we want to say something about this novel. That's why we used a singular verb. With the less common oppositional coordination, so here we are going to talk about the oppositional coordination. No such reduction is possible at all, for the coordinated structures refer to the same thing. This is the major point concerning the oppositional coordination, that although we have coordinated subject, that we have two parties, however, these two parts refer to the same thing, the same person, and that's why they are one thing. So if we say, for example, his beloved and wife is angry, this means that his beloved is the same person with his wife. So the wife and the beloved, these refer to one person, not two. That's why we used a singular verb. Otherwise, we are going to use a plural verb if they refer to different people, different things. A single noun head with coordinate modifiers may imply two separate sentences. with the result that the plural verb may follow a singular non-count noun subject quite legitimately. Here, dear students, when we have a coordinated subject and we have a head word, especially non-countable noun, and within the two sides of this coordinated subject, we have, for example, descriptions or features of this non-countable noun. In this case, although the head word, the head noun is singular, but we are going to consider it as a plural, and that's why we use a plural verb. Let's take this example to clarify the idea. Good and bad sugar are sold here. Here in this sentence, we have the head word, the head noun of the subject, which is the word sugar. And we have two adjectives talking about this head word, this noun, which are good and bad. Now, why we consider this subject as a plural? The reason is simple, however, needs to pay attention, which is that the characteristic of being good is contradicted with the characteristic of being bad. So we cannot be good and bad at the same time. That is why this indicates that we have, let us say, good sugar, and also we have bad sugar. We cannot say this sugar is good and bad at the same time. This is impossible. That is why, since we are talking about two different types of sugar, in this case, in this example, so we are going to consider them as a plural. That's why we use a plural verb. A similar collapsing of coordinate subject into a single structure is observed where the subject is a clause. So in the previous lectures we talked about the clause, especially the clause which is a nominal clause, saying that when the clause is a nominal one, we are free to use a plural verb or a singular verb. What I eat and wear are no business of yours. So here we used a plural verb with this clause. And also we could use a singular verb, although here the plural verb is preferred because we have a coordination within the nominal clause, which give us a similar feeling of a coordinated subject with the phrases. Now we move toward either or. Either or usually follows proximity rule. We mentioned in the previous lectures about the rule of proximity, the principle of proximity, saying that when we have a subject that is coordinated by either or, neither nor, etc., these we look at the noun phrase or the nominal thing that we put it closely behind the verb. So we look at it. If it is a singular one, we are going to use a singular verb. And if it is a plural one, we are going to use a plural verb. So either or follow the idea of a proximity. Let's take this example. Either the mayor or the beauty is bound to come. Is. Look here. Since the noun, the beauty, here is singular, which is the last noun before the verb. Since it is singular, that's why we used a singular verb. Let's take the next example. Either the strikers or the bosses have misunderstood. Also here we have the noun, the bosses, which is a plural one, and that's why we used a plural verb have. The indefinite expressions of amount. Before we start with these expressions are considered as indefinite because they are not used to specify something. So when we use them, we refer to indefinite things which are not specified. Let's take some example of these. For example, none. It is grammatically singular. However, it could come in a context in which a plural indication is raised. So none is basically singular. However, sometimes we can use it as an indication for a plural. I've ordered some books, but none of them have or has yet arrived. So since the first part of this sentence is a plural, some books, so here none could indicate to a plural noun, and that's why we are free to consider it as singular or plural. Neither and either as indefinite pronouns. So here we are going to use them as indefinite pronouns, not as coordinators, just like what we mentioned in the previous slides. Also, neither and either follow the same rule. They could indicate a plural meaning. I've ordered some books, but neither of them has yet arrived. So also, with neither, we can use have or has. We can use plural or singular. Note, the same proximity principle may lead to plural concord even with the indefinite, like each, every, everybody, anybody, and nobody, which are otherwise undoubtedly singular. So the same thing is applied for the other indefinite expressions of amount, which are each, every, everybody, anybody, and nobody. These are basically singular. However, we can use them in some context as plural, just like none, either, neither in these examples. Now we move toward the Concord of person. It is the second type of Concord. Just to remind you, we have three types of Concord, which are the Concord of number, singular and plural. We have the Concord of person, the first person, the second person, the third person. And we have the Concord of gender, whether feminine or masculine. So in this slide, we are going to talk about the Concord of person. Let's take the first example. I am your friend. Now, if we notice the subject and the verb in this sentence, we will see that the subject is singular and the verb is singular. So this is the concord of number. But besides that, we have another type of concord, which is here the concord of person. In other words, why we cannot say I is. And we know that I is singular and is also singular. This because that I is a first person pronoun and is in the present time cannot be used with the first person pronoun. And that's why we use I am, not I is. The same is applied when we have a subject like he. So if we consider the first example, he is your friend, and we raise the question, why we cannot say he am or she am? Why she is, he is? And we know that am is a singular verb, and he and she are referring to singular subjects. The same is applied here because of the concord of person. He and she are third person verbs, and is a first person singular verb. So we move toward the second example. He meets her. In this example, we have a third person subject, which is he, and a verb which is used with s, third person singular. So if we look at this example, how many types of concord do we have here? The answer is 2 types of concord, which are the concord of number, since we have a singular subject, a singular verb, and also we have concord of person. We have a third person subject and a third person verb. Now, one might say that we have here only the concord of person, since the S is the S third person. But notice here, the pronoun they is also a third person or third person's pronoun. So it is also a third person's. However, since it is a plural one, we cannot use a verb with the S third person singular. So here in this example, we have 2 types of concord, which are the concord of person and the concord of number. So how can we prove that we have here a concord of person, since we proved that it is there is a concord of number here? Indeed, we cannot say a sentence like I meets her. Why is that? Because I is a first person pronoun, and meets needs a third person subject. So in this case, as we mentioned, we have 2 types of concord, the concord of number and the concord of person. The same is applied with the the last example. He is the boss. Note, according to the principle of proximity, the last noun phrase of a coordinate subject, where the coordinator is or, either or, neither nor, determines the person of the verb. So not only with either or we decide the number, but also the person. So let's take this example. Neither you nor I nor anyone else knows the answer. So here, since the verb is preceded by the indefinite expression, which is anyone, so here we used a third person form for the verb. Let us take more clear example. Either my wife or I am going. So here in this example, the rule of proximity worked on both the number and person. Because the first part, which is my wife, requires a verb like is. However, since we have the pronoun I, which is the one that is close to the verb, that's why the verb be became in the form of am, not is or any other form. That's everything for now. Thank you very much and see you in the next lecture. Bye.